Hi everyone, welcome to my blog on joint ownership. Some of you guys already know me, but those that don't, my name's Phil Gain, and for the past 10 years I've helped hundreds of clients achieve their financial goals through property investment. Now today it's a really bland topic and it sounds bland, joint ownership. Now what I want to do is I'm going to quickly brush over some of the major advantages because just about everyone will know them, but my key point today is I want to go through one of the biggest disadvantages of joint ownership that people aren't really aware of, and it can have a massive effect on them down the track. And it can not only lose potential in terms of their property growth and strategy, but it can lose tens if not hundreds of thousands of dollars if you get it wrong. What we'll do is we'll start with the advantages and then we'll work through to the disadvantage from there. Okay, so the advantages: deposit level. It's very hard to get a deposit this day and age. So it's very easy if you go in as a joint owner that you can then get two of you together and you can combine a deposit. So for this example, what I'm going to use is, say, brother one and brother two. So we'll get two brothers, which is fairly common that I see, and they want to buy something together. So the deposit level, the advantage is huge because they combine their deposit, they can get in earlier. Borrowing capacity is another big one. The bank, so say the two brothers earn $70,000 each. All of a sudden now, from a borrowing perspective, they can actually look at a salary earnings across the two of them of $140,000. So it gives them a much greater potential to then obviously go and purchase their first investment property. And the final one here is, I've put up here, is a better product. So quite often if you're going into something as an individual, you might only be able to borrow about $300,000, and more often than not, it either puts you into a unit or it puts you into an area where maybe the capital growth's not there. So I don't really make excuses for where we go, but we do go to blue chip areas that have got a very owner-occupied demand and are going to give us the best return on the property. So that allows, with the joint ownership, a greater ability to be able to achieve that. So they're the fairly typical advantages that most people see and that most people get excited about and then dive into joint ownership with a brother, a sister, or a parent, or whatever it may be. The biggest issue is the disadvantage, and it can have a massive effect. So let's have a look at the disadvantage over here. So let's assume, and I've used the example at the moment of two brothers together. I will highlight that obviously the most common joint ownership is husband and wife, and I'll explain in a minute at the end why this may not catch out the husband and wife scenario, but quite often catches out either two brothers, two sisters, or whatever it may be. So I've called them here. I've got brother one and brother two. Now brother one and brother two, they got together and they said, hey, let's go buy an investment. Let's buy a $400,000 place. We'll combine our deposit and we'll combine our borrowing capacity to be able to do it. So they went ahead and did that, and that was fine. 2 years down the track, brother two says, hey, my girlfriend and I, we're going to get married and we'd like to get our own place. So he's moved over here and said, right, I'm going to go borrow $500,000 for us to get our own home. Now the issue is that the bank now looks at him as a single person to purchase. Yes, it may be combined with his new wife or whatever it may be, but let's assume for now that she earns nothing and can't assist in this process. So what then happens is the bank then says, okay, we'll have a look at what assets and everything you have and what debts you have. So what they'll do though is they treat brother one as though he defaults, because they don't have any control over brother one in the purchase of this particular property. So brother one, if this property is earning $400 a week in here, brother one is taking $200 a week of that money. Now the bank assumes that he continues to take that $200 a week, but he defaults on the debt repayment. So what they've done is they've given brother one half the rent over here, but they've given brother two, they service him based on the full debt level, because they can't chase brother one because they don't have any information on him. They only have the information on brother two and what he's purchasing here. So that now means that poor old brother two that's trying to buy this home here, he's now showing up as having $400,000 in debt, which is the full debt level, and only half the income coming in for it. So it is absolutely critical against his borrowing capacity. So he may find that he in fact is not able to borrow the $500,000 he wants to go and buy a home with his wife to be. So that creates a couple of problems. Obviously it creates a massive social issue, and it may mean that brother one and two have to get together and they have to sell the investment that they have. Now they may have only had it for 2 or 3 years, They haven't really got a lot of growth out of it yet. It's cost them stamp duty to purchase it. It's going to cost them real estate fees to sell it. So potentially it can, cost them $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in lost money. The other way they go is that they hold on to this and brother two doesn't go and buy his own home yet. And potentially if he waits until he gets the equity in here and gets the ability to be able to do that, even with this anchor here holding him, which is brother one, it might take him 5-10 years before he can go and do that. So he's now lost the potential to be in the market earlier, which also is very costly. So this is probably one of the major disadvantages with joint ownership and what I wanted to highlight to you. Now, as I mentioned at the start, the key difference for joint ownership with a husband and wife is that a husband and wife, if they're saying number 1 and 2, when they go buy a new property, they go buy it together again as 1 and 2. So when the bank look at them, your borrowing capacity all the time includes your wife or your husband. Therefore, there is no disadvantage in doing that. The only problem obviously is when you divorce, but that becomes a greater financial burden than probably just the property portfolio. So essentially, husband and wife, you can get away with it. All the problems I see are around normally family members that are getting together and doing joint ownership. So hopefully you got something out of that. It's a big ticket item. Make sure you get the structure correct. On our website, if you jump on there, astuteinvestments.com.au, I've got an ebook that I've written that has got the 5 simple steps to creating wealth through property. Basically, it's the 5 steps that I applied in my own life, and I did it from age 26 through to now, and you can see the results that I got out of it. The other thing is if you do want or you have questions on this type of joint ownership stuff, feel free to touch base with me. More than happy to have a look at it. But on the website, you can also book a discovery meeting with me where we will go through in detail your scenario and have a look at the options that are available to you, and we'll discuss all of this type of stuff. Thanks for joining me, guys. Have a great day, and we'll be in touch soon.